guys, welcome to this lecture on nutrition considerations for female athletes presenting with stress fractures. Stress fractures in female athletes typically begin with something called the female athlete triad. So that triad is low energy availability, menstrual dysfunction, including full amenorrhea or oligomenorrhea, and reduced bone mineral density. Low energy availability is the root of the problem. Sports that emphasize leanness or lightness, such as dance, gymnastics, or track, actually have a prevalence of secondary amenorrhea. Low energy availability and amenorrhea can occur in recreational athletes, such as maybe even a middle-aged woman who is a runner or a cyclist. Sports requiring a high energy output oftentimes can suppress the appetite and can make low energy availability something that happens by accident, though obviously an emphasis on physique, leanness, these things are very important to a lot of female athletes, so that's also something to pay attention to. All of this goes together as part of that athlete triad, because think about what is very metabolically expensive for the female body is reproduction. So reduced estrogen levels are actually the root of the issue. Estrogen affects bone formation and bone remodeling. So if you couple that with deficiencies in vitamin D and calcium due to poor dietary intake, you can see how the body is going to be pulling some calcium out of that bone, and you're not going to be building as much bone, so that bone is then going to be weaker. And then the sequela, which occurs afterwards, is typically a stress fracture, especially in the context of a high rate of physical activity. So stress fractures can affect about 40% of female athletes at some point, and what often occurs is there is overuse of that bone. Oftentimes it's bones of the lower leg or even in the feet, and the athlete is not allowing for proper recovery and obviously not getting proper nutrition for recovery. Since with a stress fracture, you want to do a couple of things, and especially with a nutrition assessment, you want to take a thorough menstrual history, accurate log of exercise type, volume, load, and frequency, a list of medications, supplements, a prior history of injury or medical comorbidities, and you want to make sure to get this accurate dietary log to analyze total energy intake. So dietary recommendations for stress fracture are as follows. You want to reverse the state of low energy availability, repletion of any sort of vitamins that may be lacking. This can ensure an adequate consumption of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates to support the athlete's activity level. Daily energy availability is the total daily energy intake, subtracting calories burned in exercise, and divide that by the fat-free mass in kilograms. The ideal is about 45 calories per kilogram of fat-free mass of energy availability, though the minimum for menstruation is typically considered to be about 30 kilocalories per kilogram of fat-free mass. So macronutrient guidelines for athletes, according to the International Society of Sports Nutrition, protein intake should range from 1.7 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, carbohydrate intake 5 to 12 grams per kilogram of body weight. Fat intake should comprise at least 20% of total calories, up to about 35%, but make sure that your athlete's getting at least 20%, because remember, fats are needed to synthesize hormones, especially estrogen. Here's some micronutrient guidelines for your athlete with a stress fracture. This is adequate daily intake, 400 to 1,000 international units of vitamin D per day, though if your client is low on vitamin D, as proven by laboratory values, they may require a higher supplement under the care of their physician. Calcium values about 1,300 milligrams per day up to the age of 18. 1,000 milligrams per day for adults, and 1,500 milligrams per day if your athlete has amenorrhea. Vitamin C, make sure your athlete is getting 75 milligrams per day. Vitamin C is a really powerful antioxidant. Your athlete is going to be under a lot of oxidative stress, especially while injured. It's also important for the synthesis of collagen, which also plays a role in bone formation. Quick summary of the points we discussed. Nutritional practices have to ensure adequate intake of nutrients and maintenance of a positive energy balance. Return of normal menstruation is often a good indicator that the female athlete triad is going to be reversed. Athletes should follow up with primary care physician for laboratory testing and bone mineral density testing. Here's the list of references. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video, and I will see you soon.